Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Now, tensions are once again escalating across the Middle East after the death of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in an Israeli airstrike. As Hezbollah's acting leadership vows continued resistance, the region faces a potential wider conflict. Iran, Israel, and Hezbollah are now on edge, with U.S. forces bolstering their presence. What will happen next? Joining us today on TVP World to explore these developments is Marcin Krzyżanowski, Middle East expert at the Jagiellonian University. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, and thank you for the invitation.
So can you help us understand how significant is the killing of Hassan Nasrallah for Hezbollah and its future operations? Do you see it grinding to a halt, or do you think things will continue as usual once the new administration steps in?
There will be a temporary disruption and a short period of disorganization within the ranks of Hezbollah, but I expect soon the new leader will be elected. New leadership will be created, and in the near future, the military operation of Hezbollah and other activities will be on. Especially if we consider that most probably the future leader of Hamas will be very similar to the old one.
Right. We already have some list of potential people to replace Nasrallah. Do we know anything about it yet, or are they still just speculations so far?
There's of course speculations, but the most probable candidate is a maternal cousin of the late Sheikh Nasrallah, Safiuddin. Nasrallah was educated in religious seminaries in Najaf, Iraq, and Qom in Iran. And which is very interesting, he's a husband of a daughter of late Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. So if he will be elected as a new leader, he will for sure maintain very close ties with Iran, and most probably sustain the current political and military line of Hezbollah.
Right. And ever since the killing of Nasrallah, there's been two lines of thinking. Some people believe that this might lead to further escalation, and some actually believe that this might actually, kind of send a warning signal strong enough for them to kind of tone down their activities. Which line of theory do you subscribe to?
I think it will be the second one, but combine it a little bit with the first line. It's not an easy thing for sure. The Israeli actions, the pager attacks, and the air raids campaign made Israel look much tougher than before. We have to remember that the events of the horrible Hamas attack from October last year made Israel look as a weak state, unable to defend itself. Now the picture is much different, but at the same time, we have to remember that the opponents and enemies of Israel are strongly ideologically motivated. For them, martyrdom is not only an option but also a desire. So, if Israel wanted to intimidate the Hezbollah itself and the members of the sympathizers of it, it will be impossible to do it. It will be impossible to intimidate them. But as for the Houthis and Lebanese and, for example, Syrian government, the warning sign is more than clear.
Right, and there's a recent attempt at the life of Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you think it is somehow connected to the killing of Hezbollah's leadership, or do you think these are more isolated incidents?
I think those are isolated incidents. However, now, after first killing of Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas in Tehran, and now the leader of Hezbollah. There is a strong desire in among the opponents of Israel, especially in Tehran, to make a similar, to conduct a similar action. We witness a lot of warnings from various sides that Tehran would like to conduct assassination operation of the one prominent Israeli politicians. Prime Minister Netanyahu would be, of course, a perfect target. However, I think that considering the technological superiority of Israel, it would be very hard, if not impossible, to conduct.
And we've also seen U.S. military buildup in the region. What do you think is the likelihood that there would actually be direct U.S. involvement in the conflict?
If Iran would like to hit Israel directly, especially from its own territory, for sure, United States forces, in the April this year, would try to defend its major Middle Eastern ally. And the U.S. buildup in the region is also a strong signal that in case of necessary, Israel will not fight alone, and the response of U.S. military for any kind of direct attack to Israel would be devastating for Iran.
And I'm also curious because we see this conflict sort of escalating already. And would you expect sort of a spillover effect? And how do you think this might spread to involve other regional actors like Iran or even Syria?
There is a slight chance for that, especially if we consider a possibility of land invasion on Lebanon. There is a threat of the influx of migrants and refugees, which is always destabilizing, which always pose a threat of destabilization over the region. Influx of foreign volunteers ready to fight with Israel, and a possible popular unrest in the various states, Middle Eastern states, as in Jordan. In Jordan, the authority of the government, authority of the king, is quite strong, but still there is a significant danger of popular unrest.
And speaking of unrest, I'm also thinking about the situation within Lebanon. We already see the country facing some internal crises. And how are they now coping with the fallout from this escalating conflict?
That's a very good question. At the moment, the answer is not clear. The current situation is still under the level of direct war, but still, since at least 2006, we didn't observe such tension and such intensive air raid campaign. At the moment, Israel is hitting blows around. The targets in Syria were hit, the targets in Lebanon were hit, and significant attack on Houthis Al Hudaydah port in Yemen was also conducted. So it's too easy to talk about fallout because the game is still on. It's not definitely it's not over.
All right, but this does put the situation in a kind of a very complicated lenses, right? And like you mentioned earlier, a lot of them actually see martyrdom as something that is preferable. Do you think this whole strike might, where do you think this might actually go for the morale of Hezbollah? Do you think that will kind of cripple their morale, or do you think that it might actually inspire them to do something more radical?
The latter possibility is more, in my opinion, more probable. As I said, those people are usually very strongly ideologically motivated, and those are in most cases true believers. For them, martyrdom, it's not a tragedy, it's a very desirable option. And Hassan Nasrallah at the moment, at the moment of his death, became in the eyes of his supporters a martyr, almost a saint man. So I think that the moral of Hezbollah will increase after that martyrdom. However, the assassination and bombing out almost all the members of the highest rank, highest rank of the military part of Hezbollah, will cripple its organizational and tactical abilities, but only for short time. As soon as air raids, as soon as bombardment will stop, they will start to very quickly rebuild themselves with the help of Iran.
Right, last but not least, really quick, going back to the U.S. military presence, I'm also curious about your opinion, because I'm wondering if you think that this is more of a mediatory role, mediating the situation, or do you think that this might actually exacerbate the tensions?
And there is a possibility that the U.S. presence will act as a mitigator for the area. The strong U.S. military presence is a sign that every attack, even if conducted successfully, will have a price, a very heavy price, as the bombardment of Al Hudaydah port by Israelis showed. And in the nearest future, I expect that tension will go even higher than now, with the possibility of limited land operation conducted by Israeli forces in southern Lebanon.
Right, so this is still a developing story. Meanwhile, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thanks. And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. For more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.